Ifenkili's heart sank. She had never seen such ugliness before. He wanted her hand in marriage. "How dare you waste my time?" as she ordered him out of her house. Once in the land of Ndiala, a small town in the eastern part of Nigeria, there lived a woman named Ifenkili. She was 22 years old. She was literally the most beautiful woman in the town. Her skin was clear as crystal. Her hair was very long when stretched, but in its natural form, it was the fullest and thickest afro ever seen. Ifenkili was not only beautiful, she was rich too. In fact, she was the wealthiest person in her community. She was an only child of her late parents and had inherited an obscene amount of money and vast estate from her parents, who were known and respected in the community for their philanthropy. She wore the finest materials, drove around the town in the finest luxury cars, shoes, bags, clothes. Everything she put on her body was designer made. She did not work. She invested her money wisely and just allowed her investments make her more money. Ifenkili was aware of her unmatched beauty, and with this knowledge came pride, so tall that it towered higher than the Iroko tree. She turned away suitor after suitor, declaring she would only consider a man whose looks and wealth rivaled her own. Kings and princes sent envoys and gifts of gold and ivory to her, seeking her hand in marriage, but she turned them away. Ifenkili's kingsmen were worried. On 4 occasions, they summoned her, seeking to understand her heart's desire. Ifenkili, they would begin, the pride of our lineage. Why do you turn away the love that comes to you like the rains in April? But Ifenkili, whose spirit was as free as the eagles soaring above the Niger, would not be swayed. My fathers, she would reply, my path is mine to tread. My destiny is not bound by earth, but by the vastness of the sky. And not all treasures are meant to be claimed. Her words were always a gentle rebuke, and her kinsmen have learned to choose their words with her, as she was their benefactor. And though her kinsmen worried about her, they could not catch the wind, so they watched with a mix of awe and apprehension as she walked her path. Ifenkili had no friends. In fact, she could not build or sustain any friendship. Her beauty and wealth were a beacon that drew people to her. Yet, these attributes became barriers that kept them at bay. The sheer magnitude of her beauty and opulence intimidated many. Friends found themselves in the shadow of her grandeur, often feeling inadequate or overshadowed. She held herself and others around her in very high standards. Her expectations were often unattainable, and the pressure to keep up with her lifestyle and values was a burden too heavy to bear. Ifenkili's 23rd birthday arrived, and the entire town buzzed with anticipation. The celebration was grand, attended by dignitaries. Amidst the festivities, a mysterious stranger arrived. His entourage was vast, a procession of sleek cars, gliding through the gates of Ifenkili's estate. The stranger himself remained concealed within the tinted windows of a lead car. Whispers spread. Who could this wealthy suitor be? When the stranger stepped out, the crowd gasped. His attire was impeccable, but his face was a grotesque contradiction. His features seemed molded from nightmares, a twisted nose, sunken eyes, and a mouth that curved unnaturally. Ifenkili's heart sank. She had never seen such ugliness before. The stranger removed his jeweled turban, revealing a bald head. His eyes bore into Ifenkili's eyes, and she fought to suppress her anger. The stranger spoke eloquently, wearing tales of distant lands and exotic treasures and boundless wealth. His proposal was straightforward. He wanted her hand in marriage. Ifenkili's rage bubbled forth. She unleashed a torrent of insults upon him. How dare you waste my time? As she ordered him out of her house. The stranger was deeply hurt by her harsh words. He bowed his head in shame and disappointment and left her mansion. 6 months after Ifenkili angrily sent the ugly suitor away, she attended a social function. There, she met her match. His name was Ezekwesili. He was handsome. He was the finest male Ifenkili had ever laid eyes on. At the event, Ifenkili was a vision of beauty and elegance, drawing many admiring glances. But it was Ezekwesili's gaze that held her captive, his eyes reflecting the depths of his soul. He approached her, his confidence as sure as the ground they stood on. He complimented her on her beauty, and the moment he smiled, she was lost. Lost in the warmth of his smile and the naughty way the corners of his lips turned up. In that moment, Ifenkili felt herself drawn to him, her heart opening like a flower to the sun. He was everything she ever wanted. He was tall, dark, well-built muscularly, and handsome. His chiseled face held eyes that could pierce into one's soul. Not only was he good-looking, he was wealthy too, an obscene amount of wealth that was 3 times over what Ifenkili had. They were a perfect match. Few days after they met, she said yes to marriage without even knowing him. Their marriage was a grand affair, requesting the presence of nobility, royalty, and opulence. Guests were attired in the finest garments, adorned with gold, silver, and expensive beads. The decorations were a feast for the eyes, with intricate designs and colors. The food was a lavish spread of traditional and exotic dishes, fine wine, champagne, and expensive spirits. Everyone was to indulge and make merry unabated. After the wedding, Ifenkili and Ezekwesili traveled overseas for their honeymoon. They were away for 2 months, and upon their return, she moved into her husband's house, a mansion newly constructed in her hometown, Ndiala. After the wedding, Ifenkili felt a profound sense of fulfillment and joy. The grandeur and love that surrounded her nuptials had exceeded her dreams, and she returned home with a heart brimming with happiness. Ezekwesili treated her with the utmost respect and affection, honoring her not only as his wife, but also as his equal. He was attentive to her thoughts and needs, ensuring that their marriage was a partnership in every sense. Their home was a harmonious blend of nature and opulence, a majestic compound that stood proudly at the heart of town. It was a sprawling estate with architecture that married tradition with luxury. The walls were adorned with fine art, and the courtyards boasted with lush gardens. There were cooks, gardeners, guards, and attendants who took care of the household's daily operations. To crown it all, Ezekwesili was a very kind, generous, and hospitable man. He welcomed and received guests with warmth and open arms. Ifenkili was blessed. She had received more than she had prayed for, and she was happy. 3 months after their wedding took place, Ifenkili found out she was with child. She was over the moon, elated. Finally, a little one to spoil. Her life was complete. Everything was as it should be. But unbeknownst to her, a storm was brewing. One that would rock her perfect world and change the course of their lives forever. After she broke the news of her pregnancy to her husband, His reaction was one Ifenkili was not expecting in a million years. His silence and the gloom that enveloped him were like dark clouds covering the sun on a clear day. When she tried to find out why his countenance suddenly changed, he reassured her that it was nothing. That evening, Ezekwesili announced to his wife that he was moving into another room on the opposite side of the mansion. His wife could not stop him or change his mind. He promised her that it was for a reason that will be made known to her soon. That night, Ifenkili lay awake in the bed they once shared, her mind racing with questions and her heart aching with uncertainties. In the coming days and months, Ezekwesili did not step out of his room, not even to eat, drink, or see how his pregnant wife was faring. He ordered that his meals be brought to him, but only by his personal assistant, a young man by the name Emeka. The mansion, once filled with warmth of their love, now seemed to echo with unspoken fears. The household staff whispered among themselves, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Ifenkili, determined to understand the change in her husband, sought counsel from her kinsmen. Her kinsmen counseled Ifenkili to be patient and to seek deeper communion with her husband. They advised her to draw upon the strength of their love and the unity of their families to overcome obstacles. 1 month after Ezekwesili secluded himself, his wife Ifenkili's patience had one thing. Her heart, once filled with warmth of their love, now harbored a wild seed of uncertainty. She could not understand what had caused such a divide between them, especially at a time when they were to embrace a new life together. Determined to seek answers, she made her way to Ezekwesili's room. The corridors seemed longer than she remembered, each step echoing with the weight of her resolve. The door to the room stood before her, as imposing as the question that lay heavy on her heart. She knocked firmly, her voice steady, as she called out to her husband, Ezekwesili, it is I, Ifenkili. We must speak, for this silence before us is a poison to our union. There was a moment of stillness, and then the sound of footsteps approached from within. The door opened. She made an attempt to step in, but could not as her husband was standing behind the door and didn't want to be seen. She hesitated for a moment, then stepped back and said, Why have you distanced yourself from me, from our home? Why does the news of our child bring you such sorrow? There was a moment of silence, and then Ezekwesili spoke, his voice a mere whisper. Ifenkili, this is not a matter I can speak of now. In due time, all will be revealed. Very soon, I only ask for your patience. With that said, he closed the door between them. She was left in the hallway, her questions unanswered. 3 months into Ezekwesili's self-imposed isolation, the mansion's routine was disrupted by the arrival of an enigmatic visitor. Cloaked in black from head to toe, the figure exuded an aura of mystery and solemnity that caused a hush to fall over the household. The staff watched with bated breath as the man approached the grand entrance. His attire was not just black, it was the black of a night without stars, the kind of darkness that seemed to swallow light. He wore a long flowing robe that rustled with his every step, and a hood that cast his face in shadow, leaving his features a secret to all. Ezekwesili's personal guards allowed him entry upon seeing the seal he carried, a symbol known only to those within Ezekwesili's closest circle. It was clear the visitor was expected, and his presence was of great significance. He was led through the corridors. Servants paused in their tasks, their curiosity piqued by the stranger whose very presence seemed to command respect and caution. Without a word, the visitor was granted entry and the door closed behind him, leaving the staff to wonder at the nature of his visit. When the stranger was done with his visit, he was led out of the mansion as silently as he had arrived, leaving behind a trail of whispered speculations among the staff. Ifenkili was startled by the sudden appearance of the stranger clad in all black. She went over again to speak with her husband, but this time around, she was met with total silence. Her husband did not even open the door for a second, let alone speak, and this worried her greatly. 8 months after Ezekwesili's seclusion, the dark stranger visited again. This time, his stay at the mansion was longer than his first visit. There was an air of tension, speculation, and fear in the mansion. Ifenkili tried to apprehend the stranger on his way out, but she was stopped by her husband's personal guards, who told her it was not a good idea. As the 9-month mark approached, the mansion was filled with a mix of anticipation and tension. A private doctor and 3 midwives were present to ensure the safe delivery of her child. On that same day, a great revelation was made, one that would change Ifenkili's perception of beauty forever. As she labored, a profound change was taking place within the walls of the mansion. Ezekwesili emerged from his isolation, his appearance no longer the visage of the man she had married. The handsome features that had once captivated her were gone, replaced by the face of the suitor she had once scornfully rejected. Ifenkili was in severe shock and disbelief. Her world seemed to tilt on its axis. The man she had grown to love and trust had woven a tapestry of deceit, and the fabric of their shared reality was now torn apart. She let out a scream that echoed through the chambers of her heart and the mansion. She felt a sense of betrayal, a deep wound to her spirit that was more disfiguring than any physical appearance. The realization that her marriage, her love, and even her impending motherhood were all shrouded in a spell of falsehood left her reeling. Why? Why have you done this? She cried. Ezekwesili confessed of his rage and humiliation at being insulted and dismissed. He had vowed to punish her by tricking her into marriage. He had engaged the services of a very powerful medicine man to disguise himself into the ideal picture of the handsome man she desired. He also disclosed to her that his wealth was an inheritance from his late father, who had made a pact to exchange the good looks of their entire generation for wealth. As a result of this, any offspring would be born ugly, and any woman who married him would be bound by unbreakable vows which can never be broken except by her death. Ifenkili, still in shock and in disbelief, was jarred back to reality by the piercing cry of her baby girl who was being brought to her. When she first laid eyes on her newborn daughter, her shock was compounded by the child's appearance. The baby, marked by the generational curse, did not possess any atom of beauty Ifenkili embodied. Yet, as she gazed upon her daughter, her initial shock gave way to a fierce protecting love. This was our child, beautiful not by standards, but by innocence and vulnerability, and no curse or spell could diminish the bond they shared. The household staff, who had been loyal witnesses of the couple's journey, reacted with mixed emotions. They had sensed the undercurrents of mystery surrounding their master, and now the pieces of the puzzle had fallen into place. They reacted to the baby with compassion and duty. They saw not a curse, but the continuation of a lineage, a new life to be cherished and nurtured. Ifenkili, now faced with the reality of her marriage to Ezekwesili, who no longer was the handsome suitor she married, had a difficult choice: to honor her vows or face the consequences of breaking them. As word spread around town of Ezekwesili's transformation, the birth of an ugly child, and as Ezekwesili revealed his true appearance, the townspeople were astonished and murmurs started. Some pitied Ifenkili, others said she got what she deserved. But it reminded everyone of the saying that true beauty and worth lies within. Ezekwesili, witnessing the strength and unconditional love of Ifenkili towards their daughter, felt the first pang of remorse for his actions. The revenge that once consumed him now paled in comparison to the bond between mother and child. In the days that followed, the mansion, once a symbol of grandeur and opulence, became a place of reflection and redemption. Ifenkili, with her child cradled in her arms, faced a future filled with challenges, but she was resolute, her spirit unbroken by the revelations. She would navigate this new path with the same grace and determination that had defied her life thus far. And so, the story of Ifenkili and Ezekwesili continued, not with the fairy tale ending they had envisioned, but with a complex tapestry of love, betrayal, and the hope of forgiveness and healing. The mansion, with its many rooms and secrets, stood witness to the unfolding of their lives, a testament to the enduring power of the human heart. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. If you enjoyed the story, then please give it a like. Let me know in the comment section what lesson you learned from this story. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.